I discovered my sister-in-law's affair on my nephew's tablet, and now she's threatening me. This whole situation started 3 weeks ago when I was babysitting my 8-year-old nephew Tommy, while my brother Mark was out of town for work. His wife Sarah had asked me to pick up Tommy from school and watch him until she got home from her job at the marketing firm downtown. Tommy wanted to show me this new game he'd been playing, so he grabbed his tablet from his backpack. As he was opening the app, a notification popped up from what looked like a messaging application. I wouldn't have thought twice about it, except the preview showed part of a message that made my stomach drop. It was clearly romantic in nature, and it definitely wasn't from my brother. Being the curious person I am, and honestly worried about my brother's well-being, I waited until Tommy went to use the bathroom and quickly opened the messaging app. What I found made me feel sick to my core. Sarah had been having an affair for the past 6 months with someone named David from her office. The messages were explicit, detailed, and left absolutely no room for interpretation about what was happening between them. There were photos, plans to meet at hotels, and discussions about how they needed to be careful so Mark wouldn't find out. The worst part was reading messages where Sarah complained about my brother, calling him boring and saying she was only staying with him for financial security until she could figure out her exit strategy. She even mentioned that she was considering asking for alimony and half of everything, including the house my brother had inherited from our grandmother. I felt completely torn about what to do with this information. Mark is my older brother, and we've always been close. He's been married to Sarah for 12 years, and they seemed happy from the outside. He's always been the responsible one in our family, working as a financial advisor and making sure everyone else was taken care of. He helped me through college when our parents couldn't afford it, and he's been nothing but supportive of Sarah's career ambitions. When Sarah came home that evening, I tried to act normal, but I could barely look at her. She seemed completely unbothered, chatting about her day at work and thanking me for watching Tommy. The whole time I kept thinking about those messages and how she was deceiving not just my brother, but their entire family. Tommy adores his parents and has no idea that his world might be about to fall apart. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept going back and forth about whether I should tell Mark immediately or try to gather more evidence first. Part of me hoped I had misunderstood something, that maybe there was some explanation that would make this all make sense. But deep down, I knew exactly what I had seen, and I knew my brother deserved to know the truth about his marriage. I decided to wait until Mark got back from his business trip to have this conversation in person. It seemed too important and too devastating to handle over the phone. I spent the next few days feeling like I was carrying this enormous secret, watching Sarah post happy family photos on social media and seeing my brother's loving comments underneath them. When Mark returned, I asked him to meet me for coffee at our usual spot downtown, near the law offices where several of our family friends work. I had rehearsed what I was going to say 100 times, but when I actually sat across from him, the words felt impossible to get out. He looked tired from his trip but happy to be home, talking about how much he had missed Sarah and Tommy. Finally, I just showed him the screenshots I had taken of the messages. I watched his face change as he read through them, going from confusion to hurt to anger in a matter of minutes. He didn't say anything for a long time, just stared at his coffee cup while processing what he had seen. When he finally looked up at me, I could see that his world had completely shifted. Mark asked me to send him all the evidence I had gathered, and he thanked me for telling him, even though I could see how much it was destroying him. He said he needed some time to figure out his next steps, but that he was grateful I had been looking out for him. We talked about the financial implications, since Sarah worked in marketing and made decent money, but Mark's salary as a financial advisor was significantly higher, and he owned the house outright. He mentioned that he would probably need to consult with a lawyer about protecting his assets, especially the property he had inherited and his investment portfolio. Mark had always been smart with money, and over the years he had built up a substantial retirement account and had made some profitable real estate investments beyond their primary residence. Update 1. 2 days after I showed Mark the evidence, Sarah showed up at my apartment unannounced. I was working from home, finishing up some freelance graphic design projects, when I heard aggressive knocking at my door. When I opened it, Sarah pushed past me into my living room, and I immediately knew that Mark had confronted her about the affair. Her face was red with anger, and she started screaming at me about how I had ruined her life and destroyed her family. She accused me of being jealous of her relationship with Mark and claimed that I had always tried to come between them. None of this was true. I had actually supported their relationship from the beginning and had never interfered in their marriage before this situation. Sarah then told me that she knew I had gone through Tommy's tablet and violated her privacy. She said that what I had done was illegal and that she was going to contact the police about it. I tried to explain that I had only seen the messages by accident and that I was concerned about my brother's well-being, but she wouldn't listen to any explanation. The conversation quickly escalated when she started making threats about what would happen if I didn't help her fix the situation with Mark. Sarah demanded that I tell my brother that I had made up the whole affair story and that the messages were fake or taken out of context. When I refused and told her that I wouldn't lie to protect her infidelity, she became even more aggressive. She threatened to tell everyone in our family that I had been stealing money from Mark's business accounts, which was completely untrue, but would be devastating to my reputation and relationship with my brother. Sarah said she had access to his financial records through their joint accounts and could make it look like I had been embezzling funds from his financial advisory practice. Then she made an even more disturbing threat. Sarah said that if I didn't cooperate with her story, she would claim that I had been inappropriate with Tommy during the times I had babysat him. The thought of anyone believing such a horrible lie about me made me feel physically sick. I've always had a wonderful relationship with my nephew, and the idea that she would use him as a weapon in this situation was beyond anything I could have imagined. I told Sarah that I had documented evidence of her affair, and that making false accusations against me wouldn't change the fact that Mark now knew the truth about her relationship with David. She laughed and said that she had already spoken to a lawyer about her options, and that in a divorce proceeding, her word would carry just as much weight as any evidence I thought I had. Sarah also mentioned that she had been documenting every financial transaction Mark had made over the past few years, and that she was prepared to claim that he had been hiding assets from her. She said her attorney had advised her that she was entitled to half of everything, including the house he had inherited, his retirement accounts, and his business equity. The whole confrontation lasted about 30 minutes, but it felt like hours. Before she left, Sarah warned me that if I continued to support Mark's side of the story, she would make sure that both of our lives became very difficult. She said she had connections at her marketing firm who could help spread damaging rumors about my freelance business, and that she wasn't afraid to use social media to destroy my professional reputation. After she left, I immediately called Mark to tell him about the threats she had made. He was furious but not entirely surprised, saying that Sarah had been acting erratically since their confrontation and had been making unrealistic demands about their separation. He assured me that he didn't believe any of the lies she was threatening to spread, and that we would face whatever came next together as a family. Mark also told me that he had already consulted with a divorce attorney and had started the process of protecting his financial assets. His lawyer had advised him to document everything related to Sarah's affair and her threatening behavior, so I sent him a detailed account of our confrontation along with timestamps and any other relevant information. Update 2. The situation escalated dramatically over the following week. Sarah apparently followed through on some of her threats, because I started receiving calls from family members asking about rumors they had heard regarding my supposed financial improprieties. She had somehow managed to plant seeds of doubt about my character with several relatives, though thankfully Mark had already spoken to most of them about the real situation. Sarah also made good on her promise to damage my professional reputation. She created fake social media accounts and began posting negative reviews about my graphic design services on various platforms. The reviews claimed that I was unreliable, unprofessional, and had missed important deadlines for client projects. While these were complete fabrications, they still appeared in search results for my business name and started affecting my ability to attract new clients. More concerning was the escalation in her behavior toward Tommy. Mark discovered that Sarah had been coaching their son to make statements about feeling uncomfortable during the times I had babysat him. When Mark questioned Tommy privately, it became clear that Sarah had been feeding him specific language and scenarios to repeat. My nephew was confused and upset by the whole situation, not understanding why his mother was asking him to say negative things about his uncle. This crossed a line that I never thought Sarah would cross. Using an 8-year-old child as a pawn in her manipulation game showed a level of desperation and cruelty that shocked everyone involved. Mark immediately documented these conversations with Tommy and shared them with his divorce attorney, who said that Sarah's behavior could significantly impact custody arrangements. The legal proceedings were moving forward, but Sarah's attorney was proving to be just as aggressive as she was. They had filed motions claiming that Mark had been hiding assets, and that he had engaged in financial misconduct through his advisory practice. While these claims were baseless, defending against them was requiring significant time and money from Mark's legal team. Sarah was also demanding spousal support that would amount to nearly half of Mark's monthly income, claiming that she had sacrificed her career advancement to support his business growth. This was particularly galling because Mark had actually been very supportive of her career in marketing, often taking care of Tommy alone while she worked late or attended networking events that she claimed were essential for her professional development. The financial implications were becoming clearer as the divorce proceedings progressed. Mark's attorney had valued their assets at approximately $200,000 in home equity, plus another $300,000 in retirement accounts and investments. Sarah was demanding half of everything, plus alimony payments that would continue for several years based on the length of their marriage. During this time, I decided to hire my own attorney to protect myself against Sarah's false accusations. My lawyer advised me to document every interaction with her and to avoid being alone with Tommy until the custody situation was resolved. This was heartbreaking because I had always been close with my nephew, but I understood that protecting both of us was the priority. The stress of the situation was affecting everyone involved. Mark was struggling to focus on his financial advisory business while dealing with the legal proceedings, and I was finding it difficult to maintain my freelance client relationships while defending my reputation against Sarah's attacks. Even Tommy was showing signs of stress, becoming withdrawn and anxious about the constant tension between his parents. Update 3. 3 weeks into the legal battle, we received unexpected support from an unlikely source. David, Sarah's affair partner, apparently grew uncomfortable with the direction things were heading and decided to come forward with his own evidence. He had been recording some of their conversations and had saved messages where Sarah explicitly discussed her plans to manipulate the divorce proceedings through false accusations. David contacted Mark's attorney directly and provided recordings where Sarah admitted that she was planning to claim financial misconduct and inappropriate behavior as leverage in the divorce settlement. In these recordings, she also discussed her strategy for coaching Tommy to support her accusations and her plans to damage my professional reputation through fake reviews and social media attacks. The most damaging evidence David provided was a conversation where Sarah admitted that her claims about Mark hiding assets were completely fabricated. She had been working with her attorney to make these accusations purely as a negotiation tactic, knowing that defending against them would be expensive and time-consuming for Mark. She also revealed that she had been planning the affair exit strategy for over a year, gradually building her case for maximum financial benefit. When Sarah's attorney was presented with this evidence, the tone of the divorce proceedings changed dramatically. The recordings clearly demonstrated that Sarah had been acting in bad faith throughout the process and had been making knowingly false accusations for financial gain. Her demands for alimony and asset division suddenly lost much of their legal standing. Sarah's reaction to David's betrayal was explosive. She attempted to claim that the recordings were made without her consent and should be inadmissible, but Mark's attorney explained that the laws in our state allowed for such recordings under certain circumstances, particularly when they revealed evidence of fraud or false accusations in legal proceedings. The fake review campaign against my business also backfired when my attorney was able to trace the accounts back to Sarah's devices and internet connection. We gathered enough evidence to prove that she had engaged in a coordinated effort to damage my professional reputation through fraudulent means. This not only helped restore my business credibility, but also strengthened the case against her character in the divorce proceedings. Most importantly, the recordings revealed Sarah's coaching of Tommy and her plans to make false accusations about inappropriate behavior. When the family court judge reviewed this evidence, they immediately ordered supervised visitation for Sarah and required her to undergo psychological evaluation before any custody arrangements could be finalized. The financial settlement also shifted dramatically in Mark's favor. Instead of paying alimony and splitting assets equally, Sarah found herself in a position where she might be liable for Mark's legal fees and potentially face charges for filing false accusations. Her attorney began pushing for a quick settlement to avoid further legal complications. Mark was able to retain full ownership of the house he had inherited, along with the majority of his retirement accounts and business equity. Sarah would receive a much smaller settlement that reflected her actual contributions to their marriage, rather than the inflated demands she had initially made. The stress of the situation was finally beginning to lift, though the emotional damage would take much longer to heal. Mark was focused on protecting Tommy from further manipulation and ensuring that his son could maintain a healthy relationship with both parents despite Sarah's behavior during the divorce. Update 4. The final resolution came 2 months after David provided the incriminating evidence. Sarah agreed to a settlement that was far less than her original demands, primarily to avoid potential criminal charges for the false accusations she had made. She received $30,000 from the Division of Joint Assets and agreed to a custody arrangement that gave Mark primary custody of Tommy. The supervised visitation requirements for Sarah were maintained for 6 months, during which time she was required to complete court-mandated counseling. The psychological evaluation revealed patterns of manipulative behavior and poor impulse control, which the court considered in making their final custody determination. My professional reputation was fully restored after we successfully challenged all of the fake reviews and social media attacks. Several of my regular clients even provided testimonials supporting my character and work quality, which helped offset any lingering damage from Sarah's campaign. I also received a formal apology from the family members who had initially questioned me based on her false rumors. The most positive outcome was Tommy's recovery from the emotional manipulation he had experienced. With the help of a child psychologist, he was able to understand that the confusing things his mother had asked him to say were not appropriate, and that he hadn't done anything wrong. Mark was careful to never speak negatively about Sarah in front of Tommy, focusing instead on providing stability and emotional support. Mark's financial advisory business actually grew stronger during this period, as several clients admired how professionally he had handled his personal crisis. His reputation for integrity and careful financial planning was enhanced rather than damaged by the ordeal. He used some of the experience to help other clients who were going through similar divorce situations, particularly in terms of protecting their assets and retirement plans. Sarah eventually moved to another city for a new marketing position, which reduced the day-to-day tension for everyone involved. She maintained her scheduled visits with Tommy, and over time their relationship began to normalize within the boundaries established by the court. The counseling seemed to help her understand the impact her actions had on everyone involved, though rebuilding trust would be a long process. The financial implications of the whole situation were significant, but manageable for Mark. His attorney fees totaled approximately $15,000, but this was much less than what he would have paid in alimony and asset division under Sarah's original demands. The investment in legal protection ultimately saved him hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long term. Looking back on this experience, I learned valuable lessons about family loyalty, the importance of documentation, and the courage required to do the right thing even when it's difficult. Discovering Sarah's affair was accidental, but choosing to tell Mark was a conscious decision that I would make again despite all the complications it created. The situation also reinforced the importance of having good legal counsel and financial planning in place before crisis situations arise. Mark's proactive approach to protecting his assets and documenting everything helped him navigate the divorce proceedings much more successfully than he would have otherwise. Today, Mark and Tommy have a stronger relationship than ever, and our family has learned to appreciate the honesty and trust that binds us together. While the experience was traumatic, it ultimately revealed everyone's true character and strengthened the relationships that really matter. Mark has even started dating again, taking things slowly and being very careful about protecting both himself and Tommy from potential future complications. The whole ordeal taught us that sometimes the most difficult decisions lead to the best outcomes, and that standing up for what's right is always worth the temporary discomfort it might cause.